Hello folks, Brian here coming to you from the new year. Yep, it's just turned 2023 and I haven't made a video in a while, maybe a couple months. So I want to come to you today. I make a lot of videos, I just haven't had the interest or the motivation to make them on my 2019 Infiniti Q50S Signature Edition. Man, I still have it. I'm one of the, it's the turbo car, but I am probably one of the few original people. I say original, but you know, this is not a 2016, 17, but 19. But I started making videos early on, you know, when there weren't a lot of Infiniti Q50 3.0T videos. So that's why I say that. But a lot of people have since sold their cars, got tired of them. You know, in the pandemic, you know, figured out, hey, I can sell my car and get more money for it than after the pandemic. And so a lot of people got rid of their cars or got rid of their Infiniti 3.0T and went some other route. A lot of the original people. But maybe some of them still have their cars. I think a couple of them do, but their interest is in other places. Just like my interests are in other places too. I've got reptiles. I've got a Sur-Ron e-bike that I love and ride often. I've got a new Ducati motorcycle that has blown my mind, and so, but that's a blessing because I don't want to put a ton of miles on this car and you know, drive the shit out of it and burn it up, you know, and just, you know, putting a ton of miles on it and killing it early. I love this car. I bought it and I want to take care of it, and so I want to keep low miles on it. When I take long trips for work, I'll rent a car and burn miles on that car and keep this baby in the garage. I love my Infiniti Q50, and in actuality, I have very rarely, if ever, kept a car. I buy new cars and then I'll keep them for 2 years, and then I get bored or I want something else that I see. So very rarely, almost never have I kept a car over 2.5 years. So this car is now it's going to be 3.5 years old. I bought it new, again, to make sure you understand that. And this is more the point of my video today, is that I want to talk to you about reliability. The reliability of this car so far. Like I said, I have not killed it with miles and put 20,000 miles on it in a year. The pandemic has allowed me to not drive as much. You know, it's a double-edged sword. It's a negative and a positive. You know, not being busy gives you time to do a lot more things on your own and not be at work. But then at work you don't have income. So income, you can't buy cool things, you can't buy accessories, you can't buy performance parts. So that a lot of the reason is that I haven't been making videos or driving the car more is because of that. So, but other than that, this car has been, I think I've got under 24,000 miles, just under 24,000, and the car has been flawless. You know, I saw one of my videos that's got, you know, good views for my channel. A person had stated that, that I didn't have many miles, and so I wasn't a credible reviewer. Lots of traffic when you stop with your camera. Lots of people show up or drive around looking at you crazy. But someone had commented, you know, that this guy just has no foot to talk on. But now I've got 3.5 years and I've got under 24,000 miles, and the car has never had a problem, never had a hiccup. If people have been watching my videos, which I may have lost a lot of my viewers because I haven't made videos, you know, weekly. But the car, I did take it in to just have it looked at because I had a noise coming from the front right tire. Just randomly out of the blue, I would get this shudder, you know, a shuddering sound, and it would be really quick, but it would be kind of intrusive. And so, but in the favor of you know, talking about the car, I changed the front rotors and I changed the front rotors and I put different brake pads on it. Nothing on the car was affected, but I'm just telling you, I touched and modified the front brakes. But I took it in and just had them look at it, and it was a total waste of time. but they had it, they couldn't find anything. They were like, to be able to fix something, we got to reproduce the sound and not just go on what you say. In actuality, that wasn't a problem of the car, and it did slowly go away. Every now and then, randomly, maybe once or twice a year, that sound will happen again from the front, that front shuttering of that front wheel. ABS, I don't know what it is, but it's obviously not a problem. And Infiniti gave me a clear that they couldn't find anything and everything was good with the car. Okay, then that brings me to my next point. Everything's been great with the car. I've not had any problems, and but when I start it up, you know, on cold mornings, a cold start typically, I will get a little bit of that turbo gate flutter, the loose wastegate. That is just I wouldn't call it a problem. It's just the nature of this car and the turbo the Garrett turbo that they put on there. You know, maybe the new Nissan Z400. I think that's got the latest and greatest updated turbo for the 3.0T V6 Nissan Infiniti motor. So maybe they probably fixed some of that, but all that is, and I have a video and I'll play it right here, it's mild. It only happens for a few seconds, but it is kind of annoying, and it really kills the startup of this car. That turbo wastegate rattle, it rattles, and it's quite loud, but it does go away very quickly. And so if you don't know what that is, when this car turns off, the ECU shuts off, and from the best of my knowledge, that's a safety feature built in to the ECU and the turbo. So when you shut the car off, that wastegate totally relaxes. The ECU kicks it off, and that actuator that goes to that gate, that holds that gate, from vibrating, just totally goes into, relaxation and just lets it wide open. And the reason why, so when you start it, the ECU has to go into its boot up phase and and the diagnostics and run around and check things, and then that wastegate actuator kicks in and tightens up that wastegate. So it's nothing detrimental to the car, it's just in the design. And from the best of my knowledge and my research, that is a safety feature. So I'm not going to give you the full gist of it right now because I'm not thinking on that level that when I learned and read about it, but it's a safety feature. So if something fails, it is a benefit to the car and a safety procedure that is, again, helps the car to not get damaged, or I guess maybe overboost or something when it's running. So that's really, I mean, it's not a big issue, but the sound is not that great. I still got my Pirelli tires on here, and I've had those on there probably close to the 3 years, and I just rotated them, and they're summer tires, so they don't do very good in the winter. They get pretty hard. I've got them front and rear, and as if you've watched my videos, I've got some Toyo 285 wide Toyo R888Rs that are fairly good tires. I've got my opinion on that, and my opinion varies, but those tires will get as hard as plastic. I mean, it's toy car plastic. They will get so hard, and they don't work in anything below about 85 or 80 degrees. If it gets 60 degrees, I will smoke those things. In 50 degrees, I mean, it's not even worth putting them on the car. So where most of these cars, people run their best numbers when it's cooler outside, 40s, 50s, 60s. I can't run my car in that. I mean, I'd have to, I've got some opinions on that too, and I would like to do that, but tires are just so expensive. 275, 285, 295, 305 tires they're all like $400, $500, and that's just, $800 to $1,000 for tires is just not in my budget. All right, for those, I haven't touched my car a whole lot or spent a lot of time cleaning it, and I am an ADD clean car fanatic fool. As you can see, I've got some dust and stuff, but just a recap, I've got my Mishimoto oil catch can. This is probably still, to the best of my knowledge, the greatest catch can to have because it has a filtered baffle. And I'm not going to go into the details. I have tons of videos on this. I have videos on everything that I will talk about this car. Mishimoto catch can, that is such a huge positive thing to do, as brand new as you can get your car. If you buy one of these cars with 25,000 miles on it and it didn't have a catch can, I don't know if it's that important to get a catch can after that fact, but because the damage is done. And then once you even get a little bit of oil or carbon deposits on your valves, it just compiles from there. So you want to minimize that from the very, very start, and then, you know, get your hand around the neck of that demon there, and get one of these as soon as close as the car is brand new as you can. And that is a huge benefit because that helps the performance of the car over time. Dirty valves diminishes the performance of your motor and the output, and then also too can hurt your miles per hour, miles per gallon, your MPG, because the flow of the air and the fuel into the cylinder is just not as good with clean intake valves. So very important. But I've got my AMS air boxes. I've been very happy with those here, and I've got my shroud, you know, permanently on here that puts the more cold air into the air boxes. And I would wholeheartedly say that these add the 15 to 16, 17 horsepower that the dyno shows from AMS, but it's more in the upper RPM. So we don't need any more low end help. These little tiny turbos are crazy for trying to get traction, you know, at 15 miles per hour, 10 to 15, 20 miles per hour. It's stupid. It's pointless almost. But you can see my motor here, and I changed my oil. I think the key to the reliability of these cars is that you change the oil every 5,000 miles. If it goes over and goes to 6, not the end of the world. If you change it at 4,000 miles, even better, especially if you're driving your car hard. But changing the oil is very important. I even went ahead and went to the extent that when my car was brand new, I changed the oil at 500 miles because I was going to get tuned. And then I think at 1,500 miles, when I did get tuned, I changed the oil again. And that's important because your break-in oil, God, I keep hitting my head, because the break-in oil gets the most dirty from the little metal deposits because the engine is breaking in. You know, that's the way it used to be with motors, you know, with these new technology and manufacturing processes and the newest of motors. You know, does that happen as much as with the older motors? You know, say motors in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. I don't know. Maybe, you know, it's so much more improved, and I would think it would be on the newer 2000, you know, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 to 23 cars. Yeah, I don't know, but anyways. And then I got the heat exchanger. I've gone from 2 different heat exchangers. I had the Berger Motorsports larger, big hunk of metal heat exchanger, and I over time found that maybe that wasn't my best option, and so I went with a CLM brand. And always got to check these coolant bottles. That is huge. Oil changing and checking the coolant bottles. This is your heat exchanger coolant reservoir right here. Here is your radiator coolant reservoir, and those fluctuate as the weather fluctuates. As it gets cold and it gets hot, and as you're driving it, that level goes up and down. And so you got to monitor these to make sure your car is running optimally, because when these get down low and there's no reason for it, there's a problem. And a lot of people are finding that out with porous blocks and you know, maybe, you know, secondary leaks. But big thing to pay attention to. Other than that, my car has been, I've had none of those problems, thankfully, and I can't say that, I mean, I never will, because I just don't know, but my car has been great. So hopefully this is helpful information to people looking at getting these cars. I still get a lot of people and emails of people looking at these cars, wishing and dreaming, and they're planning on getting one. So this is kind of a video for them, and re-information, or re-going into the information for people that already have this car and have been enjoying it for a while. So hopefully people find this helpful and enjoyable and interesting. Good thing about this car, this Infiniti Q50 body style, maybe a little bit more the sport package. My car is called it's not a full sport from Infiniti, but it's the signature edition. And so it lacks just a few things that the full sport model has. And it has a combination of more of the sport than it does the Luxe edition. My car, it was actually released in the middle of 2019, so it is a middle edition. It has more of the ground effects, the factory ground effects that come on the sport model. It's got the sport interior seating and the style with the more chromish looking interior, black and more shiny or satin chrome, interior accents. It also has the front spoiler and the rear diffuser. It came with the 19-inch wheels, these really cool, I think some of the best looking wheels that I could possibly get on this car. I've got some aftermarket wheels, and I think these are actually better. This black kind of chrome tint to them. Oh man, and they're like $500 a piece if I had to replace them, and they're very hard to find. So this is a sport, but it doesn't have what comes with a sport. You've got can get an option to have the auto turn in mirror, so when you park you don't get these damage from another butthole that tears up your mirrors. And then what some of the other things that the sport has that this doesn't have: the electronic adjustable suspension. I didn't have that as an option to get on this. I mean, that might have been pretty cool. Remember, this is not a Red Sport model, so there's even some more things that the Red Sport has. And another thing that my car didn't come with was navigation, and I was completely fine with that. I don't need navigation. And in 2019, they didn't have Android Auto and the other thing for the iPhone. So I'm still in love with my interior. My interior is awesome. Let me show you the interior real quick. People that bash on these cars, I don't know what their motive is or their agenda is, but this car is still a just gorgeous car on the interior. It may not be 2023 to the extent that, to the tip-top extent that some of the cars are, but this interior, it's got the piping, or in my car in particular, the white piping around the seats. I love the perforated leather. You've got your adjustable lumbar support, or for your thighs, and that, I love that feature. These seats are some of the most comfortable seats out of all the cars I rent, and I rent a lot of cars. Well, I did, and now I'm starting to again as I travel more. This car beats out anything and everything that I drive. And again, I'm not renting a BMW, high-end BMW or a high-end Mercedes or something of that nature. So I'm just comparing it to 80% of the cars that people drive and that are out on the market. Doors are so sleek, and it's got soft touch leather. All the buttons are nicely made. Everything functions really well and doesn't feel cheap. Again, the sport silver, that I talked about. and you can see it here. I mean, this is an excellent interior. It, you know, maybe have a little bit bigger display for the rear view 360 camera, and this is one thing this car has, is the 360 camera. So when I put that, I have different modes that I can shift to in the camera and see all the way around the car. Nissan came up with that, or you know, was in the forefront of doing that technology. But just an awesome interior. You know, this is one of the best interiors of any car. Maybe that's why I kept this car for three and a half years, and maybe plan on keeping it 5 years. Also too, I added these 3D mats that kind of mimic the seats and are really cool floor mats, and I even have a video on those. Just a little closer up video of the interior, just for people that haven't seen in this car. But look how great I've kept my interior. My seat got a little bit damaged, you know, with some of those wrinkles, more the wrinkles in the bolsters from the people at Nissan when I took it in there and had, you know, about a year and a half ago, had them look at that, the front wheel. It was making the odd noises. Otherwise, my seats, I take such good care of my car that my seats will almost always look unused, and that's a shame, because that always troubles me. Every time I see that, I'm like, God, that just reflects bad, and that's why I hate taking my cars into Ford or Infiniti or Chevrolet. It's just, it never comes back the same. But such a gorgeous interior, other than some of the dog hairs you'll see floating around in my car, because I have a dog that sheds like a woolly mammoth. Everything's just great. That I have been Ecutech tuned, 93 octane fuel. I've been tuned for like 3 years on this car, and so I don't drive it as hard now as I used to drive it when I first got it tuned. I've toned down a little bit. Maybe I've just matured, and I've matured with the ownership of this car, so I don't just drive it into the ground like I did, you know. And then when it got dyno tuned at Jotech, and then I went to Hussein at Racebox, I got it tuned. I think the tune with Hussein, which was a much better tune, but the guys at Jotech just murdered this thing on the dyno. There were a couple times I was like, oh my gosh, that thing just, it moved so much air as I was standing near the rear wheels, because they allowed me to watch. I mean, it hit me. I mean, the gust of air that was just coming off this car was like, I was like, holy smokes, and the RPM that it turned, and the feeling my organs went through when they were dyno tuning it. I was like, holy cow, they're ringing the shit out of this car, you know. But you know, it might have been beneficial to the car when it's new, depending on your break-in technique. If you treat your car easy, or you're the kind with the second mentality, you know, run it like you know, abuse it like you're going to run it, or use it, you know, like you're going to run it. And if it's going to be semi-race car, break it in like a race car. So maybe that has something to do to the reliability. But I have been tuned all that time, so it's not just a standard Infiniti 3.0T motor. It's got, you know, really close to 500, if not 500 torque flywheel horsepower, and probably 510, 512 torque. And again, I just want to remind everybody, I've never been much about removing the cats. You know, a lot of people will remove the catalytic converters and run these cars untuned to their demise, and that's why a lot of these cars have issues and problems and turbo failures, is because people are taking their catalytic converters off and not tuning the car to having those catalytic converters taken off. So very important that if you do that, you get tuned, and not with a JB4. How awful. Even more kind of a stunning vehicle that it's tuned to those numbers. All right, so the things that I have done to this car that help the performance aspect of it, and I think minimally that new people that are trying to buy these cars, you know, or get into these cars and want to do some tuning but stay within safe limits, is I've got my catback exhaust, and usually I have this thing shining like a diamond. But you know, this year I haven't, or in 2020, I haven't been cleaning the car nearly as much. But this is the catback exhaust system with the X pipe from MagnaFlow. It's their 15. I'd have to put that in, you know, in the text here just above. This is a catback exhaust, a 2.5 inch all the way through. You can choose your option if you want 2.5 inch or a full 3 inch. You know, one over the other. I don't know how much detail or how much difference there is, but as you get into a much higher horsepower, 600 wheel, horsepower, it might be better to go with a 3 inch full exhaust. But this has the X pipe, and so it makes it really. It makes the sound much more smoother. But I've got my PLM heat exchanger, the AMS air intakes, the tune, and I've got this catback exhaust. These are the main things that you can invest in your car and still keep your car super reliable and still have a lot of fun. I can't even run this thing close to what it can output in this Dallas, Texas. So it's really overkill with people that go into the fueling mods, unless you just have the space to run your car, or you just like to feel that you have that power and the potential to have that power, which is a cool thing too. I won't ignore, I won't dismiss, having a 700 horsepower car, in reserve, knowing that, that even though you don't get to use it that often, is still a cool thing to have. But all the performance mods of this cars, and I think the number one mod that you can do it from the start, maybe, the first thing I recommend is the, if you're buying a car new, is the OCC, the oil catch can, and definitely a Mishimoto at that. But your next investment should be on tires. I love these tires. These are the Pirelli P0 Nero GT summer tires, and their tread wear is 280. That's incredible for this type of tire. So the lower the tread wear number, typically the grippier the tire is and the better it performs in the summertime. These are still 245 width tires and is totally unusable on this car with 500 flywheel horsepower and 500 plus torque. These are just like little bitty pizza cutters. So you need to, from the best of my knowledge and from my recommendations of doing all this, 285 is about the sweet spot, depending on how much wheel offset you have and how far, depending on that wheel offset, how far you want your wheel hanging out past the body. I don't really, on a sedan like this, a luxury sedan, kind of a cleaner looking, more mature vehicle, I don't want wheels poking out, my wheels and tires poking out over the car. Plus you'll get extra damage on your front, front part of your car if your tire's sticking out because of rocks and things and water and, crap that goes up on the side of your car. But you need to invest in some really good tires. The best piece of advice, the Michelins, the high dollar tires that everyone recommends, the Pilot Sport 3S, Cup R, or whatever it is, that those tires would really help you get traction. I went the Toyo R, 888Rs. There's a Mickey Thompson, only the Mickey Thompson ET Street Rs, and they have a totally killer tire that's mainly more for the track, but they're radial tires, and it only comes in a 15-inch diameter wheel size. But if you're going to get seriously into performance on these cars, you got to get better tires than the run flats. The run flats are not bad tires, it's just they're not designed for comfort and maximum traction and the performance aspect of it. But they are very good tires, and you can always sell your tires because those are sought after tires, the run flats, and you can get a lot of money back for them if you sell them. But you might want to just hang on to them and keep them in your garage, and if you sell your car, you can always put those tires back on and they'll be close to brand new. But that's the best advice I can give people. Hopefully you found this video helpful and informative. That's the only reason I make videos. I don't, if I make money from this, I may make $40 a month. It doesn't add up to much. But just sharing, before I go away, that some of the harshest people and some of the most unpleasant people are car people. And it takes the fun out of making videos because there's a lot of just people that are only involved with themselves and they're sort of hateful, and that's that's a downfall, because I just do this for fun. I just try to do this to be helpful, and there's just so many harsh critics out there that come to your channel and expect for you to entertain them with the latest and greatest. I'm just a one-man show. I just have one camera and a cell phone, and I can't do a lot of the things that people that have a team of people or helpers, because when you take the camera and turn it off, or events happen, you'll see my attention's called at different places with my eyesight, because there's people looking at me and different things going on. Then it makes you lose your train of thought, and then it just scrambles the video up. So, but anyways, I just wanted to share that. It's unfortunate that some people in the car, maybe a lot of people, viewers that are just you know, not that great of people, that it's kind of suck the fun out of this, is what I'm trying just to get at. But hopefully you got some content out of it. This has been a really good car. And you'll have people that just hate on it because they want to hate on it. They don't even own it, and they talk trash about it. The transmission is a good transmission for what it's designed for. It wasn't designed as a race car transmission, but it can carry over into that area if you want to drag race and have fun with it. It's just its main design was for comfort and just being a good overall transmission. So again, don't listen to all the crap out there. Just if you want to get the car, buy it, but you got to buy it right. And I've got videos. I've got 150 videos, or maybe more than that, on this car, where I cover everything that you need to know about this car. But again, my name is Brian. I appreciate everyone tuning in, giving me their time, and have a great new year. And hopefully some people can get more into these cars if they buy them right and have a good time. And come back and check out for more videos. I've got lots of videos, so come back and check out more content, okay? Bye-bye. Have a good new year.